Welcome to another episode of Wheel of Horror, the podcast where two best friends spin a wheel every day leading up to Halloween. It chooses the horror movie and they discuss it. Today we're talking about 2010's The Wolfman, which was directed by Joe Johnston. I'm your co-host Alec.
I'm Eric.
And Eric, this is a you movie. This is definitely...
I mean, it's no cats, but it's good.
It's no cats. I remember this movie. When did this come out? I know it's 2010, but like when did it come
February.
Okay, so I was not working at Hoyt's then. I would have been in college at that point. So I think
February.
Yeah, it was February 12th. So I remember you seeing this, dude, in theaters, and
I loved it.
Yeah, and I remember you really liking it. Yeah. How do you feel now?
I saw it with Valente. I mean, me and Valente saw it in theaters, and I liked what they did with it. However, seeing it again, and again, I've seen it a few times. This was one of the first movies I bought on Blu-ray. I know that sounds weird because it's 2010. But literally, I had no Blu-rays, and I bought this one because I just like wanted to. I saw it, got a deal. But yeah, I like this movie a lot. It takes a lot from the old movie, but also somehow makes it older because I think the original is based off of like the 30s, like the time it was made, and this one's like it feels like the 1800s, right?
It's 1891, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, so not too far off, but like 50 years before when the original Wolfman was based on.
Yeah.
It takes parts of Talbot. It turns things on its head. There's things I really don't like about it, but watching it again, it's like, it's not a great movie. It's very corny. Mm-hmm. A lot of weird forced lines. There's parts when it's like, all right, this just lost my attention. But when I saw it in theaters, I really enjoyed it. All
right, well, two things really quick. I just want to say my first Blu-ray ever, I remember, was 310 to Yuma. Don't know why, but that's what that was. But let me ask you.
The remake?
Yeah, with Christian Bale and Russell Crowe. That was my first Blu-ray. I still have it. But did you watch the extended cut or did you watch the theatrical cut?
Theatrical, and then I watched this one on Peacock. I saw for the first time I saw it in theaters, so that's a theatrical version.
Right.
And then I don't think I've ever watched the extended, but I saw the one on Peacock today.
Okay, so we watched the same one. The one that we watched is the hour 42-minute version. There's apparently one that's 17 minutes longer, and I was like, shit, I kind of wish I watched that one because, dude, this movie feels like there's just chunks missing. Like,
yeah,
it feels like there's so many things that weren't developed that just don't make sense. Like, explain this to me. Maybe I totally missed this, but why did Anthony Hopkins do all of this? Like, why did he lie to his son? Why did he send his son away? Like, why did he... It just seemed like there was not filled in.
Yeah, so the way I was picking it up is Anthony Hopkins went to India a long time ago, 25 years before this movie. Mm-hmm. Before the setting of this movie. And he was bit by a boy in a cave, a feral boy in a cave, and came back and had lycanthrope. So every full moon he turned into a werewolf. He went on killing sprees, killed his wife, and decided to lock himself up in the crypt or whatever that area was. He did that for 25 years. So 25 years times like 12. So he's done that 300 times at least, where he's been locking himself up in that cage by, I think his name was Singh, his like trusty friend that he ends up killing at the end. Yeah. And I think he went mad. I think he started going crazy. And he says something along the lines of Gwen taking away your brother. So Benicio Del Toro, Larry, or Lawrence, they call him more Lawrence in this than Larry, he left the family to go do acting.
No, they sent him away. They sent him to the mental institution and then he became an actor.
Yes.
And they sent him away because he saw his mother get killed.
Yes.
But so it's like, what?
There's a lot of jumping around. But yeah, the dad tried to like brainwash him so he doesn't remember what he saw, which was clearly like he killed the mom and made it look like a razor blade suicide. But yeah, there is a chunk missing. I'll give you that. So what are we missing? We're missing in between? Are we missing?
No, I can tell you everything we're missing. We're missing all of Anthony Hopkins' justification for everything he does. Like, okay, he's a werewolf, sure. Why does Singh still work for him? Why doesn't Singh run away or kill him or do any of these things? Why does Anthony Hopkins send Lawrence away, but then at the end says, you were always my heir, Lawrence? It's like, what are you talking about? You sent him away when he saw you kill his mother. It was just like there was something missing, like fundamentally missing from the motivation of his character.
I agree to some extent. I think it's more of the deterioration of him being locked up in that cage and caging up the beast. And it seems like he wanted to just release the beast, and it just so happens to be 25 years later.
Yeah, but he sent Lawrence away when he was a kid. So I mean, he's been going crazy for 25. I don't know, man. That just really bothered me. It was like finding out Anthony Hopkins is the bad guy.
He sends Lawrence away because Lawrence knows what happened to the mom. That's why.
Okay, but he doesn't remember that until he comes back to address it.
Yeah, and I think he was worried about the other brother going away with Emily Blunt or something. It's a little like, man, that's not the best plot, but
yeah,
I will say I do like the idea of Anthony Hopkins being bit in India and coming back,
sure,
locking himself up properly by a trusty friend. There's parts of it that could have been a lot better.
Yeah,
just a lot better. But I will say this: I did not like when he goes in the mental asylum. I thought that was it lost a lot of steam at that point, the movie. Yeah. It felt like, I'm like, okay, now he's getting tortured, and okay, and now they bring up suicide, and it's like, okay, like, can werewolves even kill themselves? I thought that was the point. They're cursed. They can't.
Oh my god, yeah, I am sorry, man. I had a lot of problems with this movie.
That's fine. You don't have to defend it.
Yeah, let's go through, well, because it also, like, it undermines what a werewolf is at the end. But let's kind of go through it a little bit here. So it follows the beats of the first, the original one, kind of, where it's like there's a big house in London. The brother gets killed by a werewolf. So Lawrence the American brother comes back. And this version, it felt like it really tried to like flesh out a lot more. Because if you remember the 1941 version, it's like an hour and like 20 minutes.
Yes.
This one easily adds an extra 20 minutes. And I think that's the thing. It's like it added too many plot points, but it didn't it didn't fill them in enough.
Yeah, well, the first one's simple. The first one is Larry comes home because his brother died, meets up with his father who hasn't seen in a while, goes to a gypsy circus, gets bit, or like goes to like a gypsy like reading thing, gets bit, goes on a rampage, realizes he's a werewolf, tries to lock himself up. The father ends up killing him.
Yeah.
Simple. Nothing crazy.
And I love that. I think that was like the best way it could have been. He still has the love interest who's like trying to save him the whole time. Like, dude, just stick with that. Like,
yeah, this one's like the dad's the werewolf.
Yeah.
And I come home and I think my brother's been killed by a beast and it's my dad.
Right. And you're having an affair with your brother's ex-girlfriend or wife.
Yeah, it's like Pearl Harbor. It's like, okay, like
So it was just like they added more plot points than needed to be, but then the plot points that they added, they didn't flesh them out to make it justified. I just gotta say, man, every werewolf movie, it's like, okay, when they turn into a werewolf, they basically black out and they wake up naked somewhere covered in blood and they have no idea what happened, right? That's what a werewolf is, right?
Pretty much.
Okay. This movie basically completely throws it out the window because at the end, it's like, wait. So he turns into a werewolf because his dad forces him to look at the moon. They both are now consciously aware that they're fighting each other. And Benicio Del Toro, as the werewolf, is like, I have to kill my dad. Why is he able to take control then? And then also, at the end with Emily Blunt, he's like, he has the ability to be like, I love her, so I don't have to kill her. That never happened before.
I think that was like they kind of brought that into it. Like love can break the spell or the curse. Remember Minerva, what's her name?
Yeah,
says that when she's saving him. Like only love can break the curse. And like I guess there's a moment of like consciousness there when he's with Emily Blunt, which was this Frozen? Like the only true love can break the spell of the frozen palace. Like it's Frozen.
But even before that,
you never saw Frozen, so you don't get
no.
That joke. Yeah,
I never saw Frozen. But let's throw away the Emily Blunt scene. The scene with him and Anthony Hopkins, where they turn into werewolves and have this like Godzilla versus King Kong fight or whatever. They're both cognizant of what's happening right there, right? They have to be.
I don't know if they're still Lawrence and Talbot. I think they're just two beasts fighting each other. Because they're still animals.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It really seemed like the werewolves they were like aware of what they were doing. They're like, all right.
You're telling me, man. I like this movie in 2010 just because I was super pumped up to see it, and the Wolfman is like my favorite monster out of the Universal monsters. Seeing it again, I'm like, oh my god, they made the werewolf have gray hair, and I'm like, there's a lot of corniness. But I think one of the worst lines in the movie is at the beginning when Lawrence is like, he wants to see his dead brother's body, and the guy is like, you don't want to see this body, it's terrible, and he's just like, I haven't been there for his whole life. It's like, still
You don't want to see
You
it.
really shouldn't see this. I mean, I know you didn't spend time with him, but like this is not quality time. So this isn't gonna help that. It's not gonna fix that, you know.
Yeah, you're not gonna walk away from this like feeling like, you know what?
I'm glad I did that. No,
Yeah,
it's probably a terrible idea. And the guy was like, okay, that line was terrible. I think the acting was okay.
well, for who's in it, it should be amazing.
You're talking some of the best actors in Hollywood. Emily Blunt too. I mean, it's Hugo Weaving. It's insane like what this cast is. And this movie also won an Oscar for makeup, I believe.
Yeah.
Rightfully so. Like it's deserved, I think.
The makeup's good. The CGI looks horrible, but the makeup looks good.
The CGI part was bad, but the makeup and how they did some of these killings was really good, and it did win the Oscar, which is, I mean, that's all it can say forever. It's like, yep, we got a 33 on Rotten Tomatoes, but we have that statue.
Really quick, back to the acting you were talking about. Yeah, Benicio Del Toro, like, he was fine. Like, he was whatever. Emily Blunt, same thing. They were fine. But Anthony Hopkins, you're like, this actually could be a good role for him. But dude, I feel like he was phoning it in so hard.
Phoned it in.
The scene specifically where he reveals what's going on, he's like, I was in India and I like went to a mountain. Like that whole scene, dude, half of it's like not even on him. So I was like, did they just like ADR this in?
Yeah, he probably VO'd it in. Like, hey, Anthony's filming another movie. Like, what line do you need him to do? It's like, we need him to say like he was in India, got bit by a feral child. And like a really Anthony Hopkins voice, like really like kind of like the cannibal. It's like, I was in India and I was bit by a feral boy. It's like, oh god, like he probably hated that.
And the camera's on Benicio del Toro while that line's being said. So, because I was listening to that scene, I'm like, okay, this is gonna be like his monologue, and I was like, this is fucking crap, dude.
Yeah, and there's some really terrible lines from Anthony Hopkins too, but he nails a couple lines, like the terrible things, Lawrence, you've done terrible things, which is like the trailer. I remember. You've seen the trailer.
No.
Yeah, it's just some lines he hit home, and other lines are like he's not even trying.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, I actually really liked the original one.
Yeah, me too.
You know, I think because it was simple, you know, and it invented a lot of stuff. I think the other thing is this also undermines what can kill a werewolf. Apparently, just smashing your head off can kill you.
Yeah, I guess you can die by suicide, you can die by a silver bullet, and you can die by decapitation.
Which, what? That's not how it works, I thought.
Well, I mean, Monster Squad answered that question when the Wolfman gets completely blown up and the moon somehow brings the body back together. So that was a cool scene. It's like, all right, staying true to the rules, you know?
Right, because that's the thing. You'd think like, okay, I just need a shotgun, which exists in this period. Just put a shotgun with any bullet to his head and blow it off, because apparently it doesn't matter.
When Lawrence is about to blow his dad's brains out, and he, pulls the trigger, he's like, I took the powder out of those cartridges years ago. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. So what does that mean? So that Sing was basically his, like, he captured Sing apparently, but it was like, if I get out of control, Sing, you have to shoot me.
I wonder if he's from India, which is where he was bit, or I wonder if maybe he has a religious duty to prevent killings. They could have gone that route. They didn't tell us shit. They're like, this is my friend. He's my friend. Alec, he's my friend.
Yeah, it's bullshit. But the other thing is, I don't think that Anthony Hopkins killed him. Didn't Benicio del Toro walk into like a cave underneath the house and he was hanging himself? Isn't that what happened?
Maybe. I thought
Anthony Hopkins did?
Yeah, I thought he admitted he killed him.
I don't even know, man. Maybe.
Yeah, it's sloppy. The plot's just all over the place.
Yeah.
It's like trying to be classical. It's trying to be scary. It's trying to be clever. It's trying to be like whimsical almost. It's just failing. It's just failing.
Mm-hmm. You know what it reminded me of is kind of like a much worse Sleepy Hollow.
Yeah.
Just kind of had that feeling of, it's like, a guy coming to a town and doing an inspection. Kind of like
we're putting the nipples on the costume and also like doing something new and like totally reimagining it, and it's like it's not working.
No, it didn't work, and surprisingly, it had Danny Elfman too, who did the music for Sleepy Hollow. He did the music for this, which you would never know.
Forgettable music in this one for sure.
Right, and you're like, oh, it's Danny Elfman? Like,
yeah, phoned it in.
Yeah. The other thing is the budget was $150 million, and it made $142. So this was like a flop, dude. I don't know. I'm trying to think, because around this time it was like you got Van Helsing, you've got this, you've got I, Frankenstein, and you've got
Dracula Untold, which is on the wheel. We're gonna do that one too, which is very similar to this in a reimagining way.
it just feels like they could not figure out how to remake these movies. Like, the only Universal monster movie that's been remade and actually really worked, I think, is The Mummy. Yeah.
Mummy.
I mean, The Invisible Man was all right, and Hollow Man's okay,
Yeah, I mean, I think they need to focus on not like reinventing the wheel, and they need to focus on nailing the story. And the story's there because it's a classic. And like, I know Creature from the Black Lagoon, like they were gonna redo that, but they just did Shape of Water, and that's to me that's as close to Creature from the Black Lagoon as it gets.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see a new Creature from the Black Lagoon kind of reinvented, but don't overdo it. Don't do what you did with this movie and have like multiple creatures and like, oh, the baby of the creature. And it's like, okay, just make it one thing and just keep it similar to the story we've seen and we know, and add some things to it, but just don't go overboard. Don't go overboard.
Think about this, man. Just like in 1975, you get Jaws. Okay, Jaws is about a shark that's attacking a town. People are dying, and then people have to go out and kill the shark.
Mhm.
That's the movie, right?
Yeah.
Then 1999, we get Deep Blue Sea, and it's
Oh,
like, all right, we're
goodness.
using the shark's brains to like cure Alzheimer's, but now the sharks are smarter, so they can destroy the facility that we're in because they're smarter now. Like, that's what this movie felt like. They're like, okay, we have the Wolfman idea, but we got to really give it more here. We can't just have it be a wolf attacking people. It's got to be the dad's the bad guy. There's a twist and a love story now, and also Hugo Weaving. Is he bad? Is he justified? We don't know. Just shut the fuck up and give us the werewolf in the woods.
Dead the whole time. Like, okay,
right.
all right.
That's what you're expecting. You're like, oh, you're a ghost too. Like,
yeah, it was too much.
Just
too much. It was too much.
And then it's like, oh, the doctor's like he's like an evil German Nazi doctor, but like he's from the future. Like, oh,
and he wants to weaponize him for World War One.
Yeah. So it's like really like it just felt like they were just throwing so much shit at the wall.
Like Jurassic World. Like that's another one that just overdid it. You ever see Jurassic World?
I haven't seen any of them since
they took Jurassic Park and were like, we're doing it, but like imagine the park actually opened. It's like, well, the park actually opened in the first one, kind of. It was getting there, but like this one's like, no, imagine like there's like it's like Disney World, and it's like they overdo that one so hard, dude. So hard. It's just show me dinosaurs going bonkers.
That's the thing. Do they think that maybe audiences are smarter than they are? Like they're like, oh, they need a plot, they need justification for all of this. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. And maybe there's just too many cooks. Maybe there's like 3 different writers for this. Maybe there's too many cooks in this kitchen, and it just gets totally out of whack. Whereas like Spielberg, he took Christian's novel and said, you know what, I'm gonna make this movie and add my own taste to it, and no one else is going to tell me what to do, you know?
Right. Well, and also that was like, and Joe and I, when we did that episode, he even said something to me. He was just like, they didn't realize how big of a success that was going to be. And he feels like in 1975, once Jaws came out, that changed all cinema. From that point forward, they're just like, oh, just do what Jaws did. Just do that. So Wolfman from 1941, that was their original screenplay. They had no idea it was going to be successful. It ends up being huge. Now, 2010, they're like, all right, we've got this like gem. How are we going to recapture that financial gain, all that stuff? Well, we've got to add a little more spice to it. We can't just give them the same thing again. But I don't know. Just maybe if they did that, it would have worked. Last thing, too, I just want to mention really quick. The director apparently was brought in 3 weeks before they were going to start filming. So they had another director, they fired him, and then they hired another guy 3 weeks before they're going to film.
Already, I mean, that's why half these actors are phoning it in, because they know it's going to be not coherent with the vision. And the problem is that happens to actors a lot, where they're just in their contract. So you got to make this movie. It's like, but the director was fired. It's well, still gonna make it. It's like, shit, it's gonna suck.
Yeah, imagine for all of the pre-production, you're working with one person, and they're like, okay, this is what it's gonna be like, and then all of a sudden they're fired. You're like, so do we just forget everything we just worked on? And they bring in this other guy who directed Jurassic Park 3, just so you know. And then,
no way, did he really?
Yeah, he really did. He directed some other good stuff, though. That's just one of his things. He directed Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, Jumanji.
Oh, Jumanji's like all-time great, so can't knock this guy. Then.
Yeah, the original Jumanji. And then one of the Captain America, the First Avenger, he directed that.
That was pretty good.
But he was also a huge visual effects guy for the Star Wars trilogy, the original one, dude. He was on all the sets of the Star Wars, all the sets of Indiana Jones. He's definitely been in the industry, but, this is not his best work, I don't think.
Yeah.
But he seemed like a studio director that they just kind of brought in last minute to, get it going. And he said that the reason that the special effects are more prominent than he wanted them to be is because he didn't have enough time.
But it won the Oscar, so he has an Oscar with this team. So that is cool. I mean,
Well, you know who won the Oscar is Rick Baker, who did
yeah.
American Werewolf in London.
Well, that's how you want to win an Oscar. Yeah, get the guy who did that exactly.
Yeah, so 1981 was the first year they ever gave a award for best makeup and hair and all that stuff. So Rick Baker won it in 1981 for a werewolf movie, and then he wins it this year for another werewolf movie.
Yeah, and I mean that's a reason to do the movie, in my opinion. That's so cool to do it. Benicio Del Toro's in, and he looks exactly like Lon Chaney. If you look, he looks exactly like him, which is so cool. Did a great job kind of channeling that too. But yeah, it could have been better. It could have been a lot better. It probably couldn't have been amazing because it's a remake of a 30s movie that's, the story's there. It's a werewolf, You get the full moon, you got the silver bullet, you got the dead werewolf. Boom. That's the movie.
They've made good werewolf movies since Wolfman. I mean, I think American Werewolf in London is amazing, dude. That was
fantastic. Yeah. Well, that was great. That was great. And I enjoyed talking about that a couple months ago. That was fun.
But yeah, unfortunately, I've never seen this one, and I'm not going to be recommending it anytime soon.
Yeah, that's fine.
You know what it is, though? It's a pretty movie. It's a very nice set. Everybody looks good. The acting's not horrible. It's not a complete piece of shit. It's just very bland. It's just boring.
It's sloppy. It's sloppy in the writing and story structure. Everything else is hitting the mark for the most part. It just needed a better coherent story.
Yeah, and it came out Valentine's Day weekend, apparently, is when it came out. So it's who the hell's going to see this on Valentine's Day weekend?
Either you're going to see that movie Valentine's Day with Ashton Kutcher, or you're going to see this. There's no other option.
Oh, I think it's a lot of single guys going to see this, and then a lot of couples going to Valentine's Day. But also, did this need to be rated R? Do you think maybe that would have helped?
You needed it to. I mean, there's only so many ways you can do it. You can just do it like a beautiful love story, or you could do violent. And they went we're doing violent. The love story's not there. The love story sucked in this.
Yeah, it did. It did.
The violence was there, and the kills are actually really impressive. It wasn't the most amazing thing I've ever seen, but they did a good job.
The only one that stood out to me is when that guy got the claws through the bottom of his chin up through his face or whatever. That was pretty intense.
Yeah, the arms getting ripped off, the guy getting pulled through the tent. Yeah. There's some cool kills.
Dude, you know what made me laugh so hard is when they have that deer tied up or whatever, and the wolf just jumps out from underground, starts killing people, and the deer's fuck this, and breaks the thing and runs.
Yeah,
that was great.
Change the subject real quick. I'll send you a link, Alec, of a real quote werewolf legend story, The Beast of Gévaudan, Gévaudan, Beast of that Gévaudan. It's a French story, kind of like Jaws, where there was a beast that over the course of many years, 610 attacks, 500 deaths, 49 injuries.
Wait, 610 deaths?
Attacks resulting in 500 deaths. Is that right? Am I reading this right?
What?
Dude, yeah, look it up. I'm telling you, it'll blow your mind reading about it.
When
1764. It's in the history books, and it's in France, and legend has it was a werewolf over the course of from 1964 to 67, which was in the area of about 50 miles. One or more beasts with formidable teeth and immense tails. It could have been a striped hyena, a wolf, a dog, a wolf-dog hybrid. History is now saying that it could have been Tasmanian devils. But yeah, look it up, dude. It's kind of fascinating. I went down a rabbit hole. It's probably the only real story that we have of a potential werewolf that I can think of. This is legit, could have been.
I mean, I've never heard of that. I'm sorry, did you say 1760 or 1960?
17, sorry.
Okay.
1764 to 1767, the attacks. Yeah. It's amazing if you read this stuff. It's so crazy.
Spell it again, so if anybody listening.
All right, so it's so if you type in Beast of Gévaudan, Beast of Gévaudan.
All right. Yeah, I want to look it up and learn a little bit about that.
It's fascinating. I mean, and apparently there's legend saying that, the silver bullet thing came from this. They killed this creature with a silver bullet, apparently. Also, other stories about the silver bullet. It's a way to fight evil. Silver is a way to fight evil. If you remember, Judas turning on Jesus and getting 30 silver coins. Silver is evil. It fights evil in some sense. Silver. So...
Yeah, that was one thing I always was like, why silver? But I guess that.
Those are the two reasons people have heard, but the Beast of Javadan is probably saying that wrong. It's probably Gavadan for all I know. But yeah, that's probably the two things I know of that silver bullets came from.
Well, the one scene that I was kind of watching and I was thinking to myself, like, you know what? Fuck that kid. Is when right after there's the first werewolf attack in the town, and Benicio Del Toro follows that little kid. He's like, "Hey, boy," like all that stuff. Dude, screw that kid. Are you kidding me? You're gonna go sacrifice yourself for some random kid that's like deciding to be an idiot?
I think he was helping the kid, but also wants to kill the beast that killed his brother. It wasn't just helping the kid.
Okay, yeah, that's true. He probably thinks
he had more purpose than just saving the kid.
Yeah, because I'm watching this, I'm like, why is he going after this kid?
Well, I mean, first of all, if I'm at a carnival and that some beast is going around massacring people, and I see it running in the woods, and I see this kid like just ran off in the woods, I'm like, like, I don't know, should I go after the kid? Like,
no. And then you see the wolf running after the boy.
I think that kid shouldn't have ran off. I mean, that's his problem. No, that's so bad. That's so like, yeah, no, but seriously,
it is. But also, like, dude, if I saw a stranger doing like about to do something stupid, I'd be like, that's not my fucking problem. Like, I don't know.
The good Samaritans on this podcast that we are. No, we would help. I mean,
if somebody was like, if they were in danger, like let's say they like fell onto a railroad track, yeah, I'd help them. But the kid who's in town runs away from.
It's not a town. It's a gypsy carnival. It's not even like. Oh, right. It's not. Right. There's no structures there. The kid's just running off in the woods. Like, what are we gonna do, Alec? What are we gonna do to help this kid? Like, hey, Alec, we should really go help this kid. It's like, and just die too? Like, there's no way we're beating this thing.
Right, exactly. And then I love how the kid gets a little bit of like reprimanding when he's like back in the wagon. They're stitching up Benicio's neck.
His pulse is bleeding on
him. And he's like, "Come here, you stupid." He like pulls the kid over. He's like, "I'm sorry, Pop." Like, it was just like, oh my god, like, yeah, you're so lucky, kid.
It'd be funny if the kid was like, "Did I do that?" Like,
oh my god. It's like, Jesus, this movie sucks, dude. So actually, I know that, so in the 2000s and the 2010s, they tried to reboot the Universal movies. They tried to do
City,
that.
Man.
But now,
so sad.
In 2017, we had The Mummy with Tom Cruise, which also flopped, which is like, whoa, with Tom Cruise it flops?
That was supposed to start off or kick off the dark universe. We've talked about this before with Russell Crowe and Javier Bardem, or what's his last name? Javier Bardem. Yeah, Bardem, yeah. It was going to be a big deal. It fell apart.
So what they're doing is now The Invisible Man came out in 2020, which actually was a very big success. So, they're greedy and they're like, well, let's try the Wolfman again. So apparently, and if you look it up on IMDb, there is a new Wolfman movie coming out with Ryan Gosling as the wolf.
Isn't he Ken? Barbie Ken?
He's doing it all now. Buckle up, buckaroo.
Wait, does he owe people favors? Like, he was like, what's he doing now? Like, I was like really starting to gain respect for Ryan Gosling.
Yeah. You didn't see The Gray Man, did you, on Netflix?
That one's bad, right? That's Reynolds, though. Is that Reynolds?
No, that's Ryan Gosling.
It's all blurring together with, like, what's the other one Ryan Reynolds did about, like, him in a video game, Player One, or whatever. I don't know.
Free Adam? Or no.
All these movies are starting to blur together.
Yeah, you're telling me, dude. Jesus Christ. But, I don't know. Overall, I mean, now that you've revisited it, if you had to give it a score out of 10, what would you give The Wolf?
All right, first time seeing it, enjoying it in theaters, I'd give it a 7 out of 10. Seeing it now, 5. Just a 5. A flat 5. Like, you tried, you got the Oscar, but, man, you dropped the ball on the story structure.
Yeah, I'm going 4. It's
That's fine. That feels right. I mean, it has that what is it, 33 on Rotten Tomatoes?
Yeah, if you read on IMDb, though, people are like, don't read the bad reviews. This is the best werewolf movie of all time. And I'm like, what are you people on? Like, no, it's not.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
It's not, like, unwatchable, but it's just, like, boring. Like, I don't know. There's better ones.
It misses the mark. It misses the mark. American Werewolf in Paris is not in Paris, in London. Paris is another one that's pretty bad. But American Werewolf in London is probably one of the best ones. What other werewolf movies is, like...
There's The Howling, which I haven't seen. I don't know, man. I'm not like a huge werewolf guy, but I think American Werewolf in London's the best. And then you've got The Wolfman from 1941. That one's fantastic.
There's one more movie that's better than every werewolf movie, and that's Teen Wolf with Michael J. Fox.
I like that one too.
That might be the best werewolf movie. I'm sorry.
Dude, think of it. You become a werewolf, he becomes better at basketball. What's not to love? Come on.
It's amazing. The guy at the end taking his penis out in the stands. Like, Google that. Google that, people. Listen, that's a real thing.
He gets on top of a car and surfs with sunglasses on. It's fun.
And they get kegs, and he's scared, and his dad shows up, and he's just like, I'm a werewolf too. Oh, That's as good as it gets.
It's fun. But anyways, what do you say you spin the wheel, Eric?
We shall. All right, pulling it up. Spinning! Ooh, good one, good one. Return of the Living Dead.
Oh, awesome. Okay, cool. We have Joe Testa joining us for this one. This is one of his favorites, so that'll be good.
Can I be on this one? Yeah, I'm on this one, right? I want to be.
It's me and Joe.
Yes, I've never seen this one.
Yeah.
We did Dawn of the Dead. What did we do in the mall? The original one?
Yeah, we've done Night of the Living Dead. We've done Dawn of the Dead. We did the Dawn of the Dead remake.
I love doing these with Joe. This is like my favorite ones to do.
Oh, I'm so ready to do this one.
Let's do it. Let's do it. It's going to be great.
All right, cool. Well, everybody, thank you very much for listening into our discussion on the Wolfman today, and we will see you all tomorrow with Return of the Living Dead.
Woo!